In this video, I'm heading out to a section of bushland in Victoria where one of Australia's most historical events occurred. I'll be camping nearby Stringybark Creek, where the famous Ned Kelly and his gang had their hideout in the 1870s and where they had a shootout with local police. I want to camp in this area with the same kind of gear and equipment Ned would have likely had access to, so I can get a taste of what it would have been like for his gang on the run and hiding out in this patch of bushland. And I want to discover more about Ned and what happened here at Stringybark Creek and explore the age-old question, was Ned a hero or a villain? Ned Kelly, our most famous bushranger in Australia, an Irish outlaw on the run and a controversial figure in Australian history. Some see him as a common man's hero, a sort of Robin Hood who stood up for the poor Irish farming community against the harsh British police force. Others see him as no more than a violent crim and a murderer. So much has been said of Ned Kelly, but I want to get a taste of what it would have been like for him on the run and out in our dense bushland. Sleeping out under the stars in the dark of the night, hidden among the gums and ferns. How would it feel living in such rough conditions with so little? G'day everyone and welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm in a pretty famous historic spot in Australian folklore. I'm right near Stringybark Creek where Ned Kelly and his gang had the famous shootout with the police. Now you can, I'll go there tomorrow to the actual site where it all happened, but there's a little camping spot in there in the historic reserve, but because I wanted to camp like Ned Kelly and his gang would have out in the scrub, I've decided to come to some nearby state forest and find a little clearing and camp out just like Ned would have camped with that kind of gear. So it's pretty hot, so I'm looking forward to taking this stockman jacket off, and it's all about trying to find a nice little cleared patch to lay down for the night. First, I'm going to get all this stuff off. Take this bloody stockman jacket off. Great jacket in the winter time, not so great in the warmer months. Whew. Oh, beautiful. Pretty ripper spot here. It's not a huge open cleared area. There was another cleared area that I walked through, but I wanted to feel tucked away in the bush, surrounded by the candlebark and the stringy bark, just as Ned and his gang would have. You know, they wouldn't have camped out in open places where they could have been spotted from a fair distance away. They would have hunkered down in a little area like this, and this is great. So I've got all my traditional gear here. Just having a look at this area. I'm near a creek, and I've just seen this ripper of a tree behind me, and it looks like it's got a hollow in it, so I'm just going to go have a look at that. And you know, Ned Kelly, reading up on his life, ever since a young lad he was quite well accustomed to the bush and I guess what you call bushcraft today, how to survive out there, how to camp out there. Harry Powers was a bushranger in the area, and Ned Kelly as a young lad actually spent a bit of time with Harry Powers learning the bushranger trade, you could say. So he was well accustomed to hiding out in the bush and in places like this. Now this area they hid in, I mean the landscape would have changed since the late 1800s when the Kelly gang were here to what it is now. There's so much more scrub probably. Look at all these blackberries that have taken over. That's the problem with our bush these days, but it still was very scrubby in this area because when they were trying to find the bodies of the police officers, I think it took a few days to find Kennedy, I think his name was, because the bush was just so dense and scrub. So similarities to what it would have been like for the Kelly gang camping out in this area in the late 1800s. Okay, for this camp I wanted to go with gear that you could have found in the late 1800s. The limited stuff that you would have carried with you as well are Kelly and his gang, because you wouldn't be carrying a whole heap of stuff when you're hiding out in the bush. Now obviously there's two things I'm missing, which the bushranger always had with him, or in the most cases, which is a horse and a firearm. So no firearms and no horses on this one, but a saddlebag, a bedroll, a canvas water bag, these are kind of things that they would have had. So basically here for my bedroll tonight I've got 2 woolen blankets to keep me warm. I've got my tucker bag here, or my flour bag. I've got a little bit of meat in here and a bit of flour in the morning. I'll show you that later. This is my leather swag strap from Southern Land Bushcraft, and it looks very authentic to the time of, you know, the late 1800s, doesn't it? This is a canvas water bag from Trailblazers. It's a modern one, but they had canvas water bags back in the day. A little tin or a little billy, they would have had billies with them as well. I just wanted to bring my little nesting cup for this one. Obviously I've got the Stockman jacket, the oilskin jacket. That was a common thing, especially for riders of the day. Ned and that would have had those kind of jackets with them. Now this is a leather saddlebag, or side bag you could say, and in here I've got one tin plate. I've got another little pocket knife. I've got here, these are some tea leaves for the morning. This is my flint and steel for creating fire, how they would have back in the day. And I believe in here I have a tobacco pipe, some tobacco and some salt. And that's pretty much what I've got for this trip. Just very, very basic, but again, the kind of stuff that Ned and his gang would have had with him out here in the bush. Now, I thought I'd also just show you, these are the first time coming out on a trip and wearing these boots here, but these are leather boots created from the style of World War I British troops that they would have worn, and I guess it's similar to the kind of leather boots that you could have had in the late 1800s. They were very slippery, so I actually ended up putting some nails in there, just like the old hobnail boots, which obviously was around and quite common in the 1800s. So even the boots I'm wearing and the clothing, it's all heritage material stuff, it's all cotton woven. I wanted to go as authentic as I could for this particular camp. So I want to have my fire right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and dig a bit of a hole here, remove the grass so I can have the fire here and then put the grass back on. And there's two reasons for that. One, I'm in pretty thick bush. I mean, it's fairly clear here, but yeah, I just want to make sure that it's on dirt and there's nothing flammable around it, just to be safe. Two, the Kelly gang wouldn't have had a big fire going because, you know, smoke would have given away their position. So I'm just going to have a very little fire tonight right here in this area, just a nice small one to lay right next to. Yeah, well, I'm off to find some stringybark. Even though it's called Stringybark Creek, I can't see a lot of stringybark. A lot of it's this kind of candlebark or ribbon bark, you'd call it. Well, I couldn't find stringybark that I was happy with, so I've tried to make a bit of a tinder bundle or a bird nest out of dried moss, dried grass, dried bark, and I'll see if that's gonna catch a light with flint and steel. Hopefully it does. So keeping in line with what the Kelly gang could have ate out bush, I have a couple of roo steaks. So let's say they caught themselves a roo and they were going to cook them up. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to let that fire just burn for a bit until there's some hot coals, and I'm just going to chuck that meat right on the coals as they would have done. I ended up putting it on my little plate, which is not really a saucepan, but I thought I'd give it a go just because it was taking so long to cook. That looks done. Now, I should have some salt in here. Here we go. All right. Very gamey. Definitely tastes like I've just shot it from the bush and cooked it straight on the fire, that's for sure. I might have a tobacco pipe. Now, one thing I do have here, a little bit of a treat. Now, in the early settlements, rum was the drink of choice. In fact, it was like a currency. But coming towards the late 1800s, and with the Irish influence, whiskey was obviously also something that was favoured. Now, Ned Kelly, coming from an Irish family, I'm sure he was well accustomed to whiskey. And I also learnt that as a way to make money when they were on the run, they would sluice gold and they would also distill whiskey. So I have no doubt that Ned enjoyed his whiskey. Now, I thought I'll go get myself a little bottle of whiskey to enjoy in this trip. And I happened to come across this and I thought, okay, well that is the perfect whiskey for this trip. Have a look at this. I thought that was just grand coming across that. So here's to Ned Kelly and the Bushrangers. Have you ever seen that famous portrait of Ned? I don't know if I look a little bit like it. If I look off to the side. He wasn't a redhead though. As I lie here and the sun is set and it gets quite I reflect what it must have been like for Kelly and his gang, hiding out here in the bush in the darkness, and it's very gloomy and spooky at times, but what was that like, being on edge, wondering if they were about to get sprung any moment? Those countless nights spent out in the bush, they really were hardy men, that's for sure. This is Queen Victoria tea leaves. Lots of movement around the bush last night, roos jumping around, and then I'd stand up in the night and a big honk from a samba deer would go off at me. It gave me a bit of a startle. Now for brekkie, just as the old fellas would have had, I've got 3 simple ingredients. Flour in my flour bag, salt and water. And I'm going to mix up a little damper roll to eat for breakfast this morning. Oh. I thought I'd do it the old-fashioned way, and this is how they really would have done it, which is just buried in coals, and that should cook it up. Nice. That's good. Good bread. Now I know back in the day they probably wouldn't have done this, but it's still a bit hot, and I just want to make sure this fire is completely out. Leave no trace, as they say. Alright, now that I've got everything packed up and the fire's out, I've had me brekkie, I want to start walking back, but I do want to go for a little bit of a wander to Stringybark Creek, and I want to check out some of the history of what went down there with the Kelly gang and the police officers back then in, I think it was 1878. Sun is coming out, it's actually, I can feel the heat of the day, it's starting to get warm already, so I'm going to start heading off and check out Stringybark Creek and look at some of the history. Stringybark Creek is arguably the place where Ned went from a criminal on the run to a notorious bushranger, outlawed from society, because it was here that he and his gang killed 3 police officers who had come to bring him in. There are mixed accounts on what happened on that fateful day, with Ned's side of the story and the sole surviving police officer, McIntyre, sharing his side. Was Ned acting in self-defence, or was he a violent man? Perhaps it was a mix of both. But on that day, 1878, 4 police came into Stringybark Creek to try and find the Kelly gang, only to be sprung by them in the thick bushland and told to surrender their arms. They bravely refused to give in, and a shootout occurred and 3 of the officers were killed. And so began the reign of bushranging by the Kelly gang. And here it is. This is where it took part, Stringybark Creek. In October of 1878, this is where the shootout with the police happened with the Kelly gang, and 3 officers were killed during that shootout. And it's a place of remarkable history for us in Australia, one of the most famous events in Australian folklore, and it's great to finally visit this place and just imagine what it would have been like going back in time when the Kelly gang were hiding out here and the officers were on the hunt for them. And yeah, the place just kind of oozes history, that's for sure. And this whole area is a great place to come and reflect and yeah, just learn some of the history. There's lots to learn here, and there's lots of information boards to go deeper into the history of what happened here. And you know, just reading some of the statements from friends and families for the police officers, the 3 police officers who were killed, who, you know, 2 of them were family men, left behind families. It just makes you realise it was a tragedy as well. I mean, these police officers were brave men of their times, and I know Ned Kelly is a bit of a hero in our folklore, but yeah, the reality is it was a tragedy what happened here, and the murder of 3 officers, and that's something I think you can think about as well. And here be the site of Sergeant Kennedy's death. And this is probably the most controversial death of the 3 police officers, because it's the one where we're not sure if he was shot down out of self-defense from the Kelly gang, returning fire, or if it was cold-blooded murder. 2 different accounts from the surviving police officer and Ned Kelly himself. Obviously Kelly's gang say it was self-defense, and the police party say that no, it was cold-blooded murder. Will we really ever know the truth? I guess not. And this is the very spot of the Kelly's camp, nestled in and hidden amongst the candlebark trees and the stringy bark, and it was said that they were so well hidden that farmers just a few kilometres away didn't even know that they were here. And this is the Kelly tree, and it's based on the fact that there were markings on trees where bullets had hit the trees, and these became unofficial memorial sites for people to remember the police officers. They got felled and chopped down. So in the 1930s, this one was erected, and a marking was carved into this tree to honour the 3 fallen police officers. So it's been really good to do this camp and just look deeper into the history of one of our most famous icons in Australian folklore, Ned Kelly. And doing this camp, I have to ask myself, who was Ned Kelly? Was he a hero or was he a villain? And it makes you think, because obviously in popular movies and things like that, he's often portrayed as a bit of a hero, you know, a Robin Hood type character. But there's a whole other side of it, and obviously for those who are close to the police community, they would see him as a villain. And if you want to see a movie that portrays it from the other side of the argument, I would recommend the movie Stringybark Creek, which is obviously based on the events that happen here at Stringybark, and it's all from the police officers' perspective, and it really makes you sympathise with these police officers, you know. So what about me? What do I think? Was he a hero or was he a villain? Well, I don't know, because there are some things you read about Ned Kelly, and you can admire the man and sympathize with the man. And the truth of the matter is, over 30,000 people tried to sign a petition to have him pardoned when he was captured. This was obviously a man who was beloved, and this was obviously a man who did many good deeds to his poor farming folk that he grew up with, and even when he was bushranging with. And that makes you admire him. On the flip side, he was a violent man. He killed 3 people, and that's something that we have to accept. And he was quite ready to kill a whole lot more policemen as well in his last stand. So in the end, I think it just shows that like history, it's messy and it's complicated. And I like to think that our heroes in the past were often deeply flawed, and our villains in our past have many redeemable qualities about them. And I guess I'll leave it with one of my favourite songs from one of my favourite Australian folk artists or musicians, Brodie Buttons, in his song about Ned Kelly. It says, "Some say he's a hero who gave to the poor, and others a killer, they say. To me it just proves that old saying is true, the saying that crime doesn't pay. But when I look round at some people I know and the prices of things that we buy, I just think to myself, well, perhaps after all, poor old Ned wasn't such a bad guy." And I'll leave it there.